Good evening, everybody. This is Dr. Nancy Sutton Pierce, and I'm here for our third episode of the Exotic Lifestyle Show. So I am curious about what you think is exotic. Last week we had Cam Potter on, and he is living an exotic life, in my opinion, as a digital nomad. And if you didn't catch that show, you can find it on my YouTube channel, the Dr. Nancy Sutton Pierce YouTube channel. Hey everybody, thanks for coming in. I appreciate your presence here because I'm going to be interviewing you all tonight. So I'm going to invite some of you, obviously one at a time, to join the live, and I'm just going to ask you a question that you, if you think about an answer during the show, you'd like to share it, is what do you think is a sensualist? And of all of our senses, what is your favorite, if you have one, and why? Why do you prefer that sense? So we're going to be talking tonight about what is a sensualist and how does that serve us, why that's different than a hedonist, perhaps. And so I'm going to be going over some things tonight about the senses. So I'll give people a few minutes to catch up. So I'm going to try to keep this live to about 30 minutes. I think going into an hour tends to be a little bit too long for most people. So it depends on what kind of momentum we get. But I'm going to try to keep it a little concise tonight so that you all have time to go do something else you might want to do. So again, this is the Exotic Lifestyle Show, and I'm exploring what is exotic? What makes something exotic to us as individuals? Is there a general definition? Do we always equate it to something sexual? Or can it be something that has to do more with the senses? So we're going to be asking those questions. I actually have more questions than I have answers. So that's what keeps my life interesting, is I'm always seeking more knowledge and information. So one of the things that I've discovered about my life is that, and that's why I call myself a sensualist, because I love to play with the senses. I'm being a yoga teacher and a yoga therapist and a yogini for going on 30 years. I'm very much in tune with my senses because that's how we perceive the world, right? So we bring information in through our senses, and then we perceive that via the senses. So that's why you and I could be in the same room at the same time, and we would be getting different perceptions because we would be tapping into different senses simultaneously. So you may not know what you're doing. So John, just make sure you know the rules before you come in. No nudity. If you're rude, you're going to be banned and I'll stop the show. So if you don't want to stop the show, please mind your manners and just come in and answer the question, and then go ahead and leave if I don't have any questions back for you, okay? So that other people can come in. So John, just give me a thumbs up if that works for you. Because I've done this before and it's a little risky because some people I don't know on here, and they don't understand the rules of engagement of coming into a live. So that's a really good question you've asked, and I'd like to use my sense of smell a lot in my self-care routine. Excellent. Okay, John, so I got you. All right, so I'm going to invite John in here, our first guest, to join us. So I think he's coming in. Are you there, John? I invited him in. I wonder if unless you're following me, I'm wondering if it doesn't work. So, because I don't see you coming in at all. So maybe you decided not to, John? Okay. All right. So if anybody else would like to come in and answer the question, one is, what is being a sensualist? Have you ever heard of that term? Are you a sensualist? And of all of your senses, do you have a favorite that you tend to gravitate to? I know we've always played those little games. Yeah, John, I don't know if I don't know if you're not following me. I don't know, maybe I have to follow you. I'm not sure how that works. Let's see. I'll follow you, and then let's see if that works. We're learning tonight. It's always learning something new. Like I started off the show, is I have more questions than I have answers. So, and I have a lot of answers, but I got a lot more questions. So John, maybe ask again. I followed you. Make sure you're following me, and then we'll see if that'll work. Okay, so some of the things that's interesting that we keep learning more about the senses, right? Some, we know that there's the big five. There's sight, the smell, sound, sensation, taste. So, but there's another sense that they talk about called it's the combination of taste and smell, which they're saying is another sense because it works together. So you would like to join, Nancy? Sure. Yep. Ask to come in. That would be lovely. So when we're playing with the senses, now, as a sensualist, one of my favorite things is to see how many of my senses I can get stimulated at the same time to see if the top of my head blows off. That's kind of fun. But it's also fun to minimize some of the senses to then expand another. So okay, I see. So John, I'm going to have you come in next because I see where I needed to go there. All right. So I think we have somebody coming in. Hi.
Hello. Nice to
How
meet
are
you,
you?
Nancy. And I'm good. How about you?
Good. Nice to see you.
Likewise. It's finally
So,
good to meet you.
so what do you think about this sensualist concept?
I think that's a really good question because I was answering it before in your chat because I like to use the scent of smell because I love to use plants like essential oils. I
Mm-hmm.
have a garden, so when it comes to my own home, I just like to help you to connect, with myself. Sensuous. So sense of smell is kind of like really important for me, especially in my self-care routine also. That's like, I want to elaborate a little bit more about it too. So that's what I was like, when you said
Yeah.
that, I was like, that's a really good question. I want to just elaborate and just share with you live. So thank you for that. It was really, really good. And I'll
Oh,
continue to
thank you
think
for
about it too.
sharing that. Yeah.
Oh, anytime.
And I think the sense of smell, interestingly enough, is the one deepest in the brain stem,
Right.
and it actually is the biggest trigger for memories.
Yeah, true,
So
true. So
it'll
true.
tap into memories long time ago, which can be a good thing and sometimes not such a good thing. But we
Yeah,
do
exactly.
attach the sense of smell with our experience a lot more than the other senses, which I find
Hmm.
really fascinating. Like, why that one? But it's our one of the most
Right?
primal senses.
Right. So I think that's pretty much all I want to share
Okay,
too, because I wanted to come on respectfully, meet you for
thank
the
you,
first time because I know they're fan of yours and all
thank you.
that. So
Show them
you're
how it's
welcome.
done, right?
Well, I'm not afraid to come on and just, live because I do it on my YouTube channel and Instagram sometimes, but not so much on Instagram, but on YouTube. But I'll just leave it there. But this is your show, and I'm just being polite and respectful.
I'm so happy to see your face. All these years I've known you, and
Yeah.
now I get to see a face and a smile, which is
Yeah,
lovely.
it's the real deal. So it's like I look a little better on my laptop. I'm using my phone, so it's like,
Okay.
oh, okay, see how it looks.
All
I'm
right.
using my
Next time,
Bluetooth
come
also.
in on your laptop.
Hey, if it works, if it works. So yeah,
Yes.
I'm a thank you,
All
Nancy.
right. Well, thanks for coming in. So
Anytime.
I don't know
Thank
how
you.
to exit you without exiting me. I think you might have to do
Yeah, I think
that.
I'll exit the app.
Okay.
So nice to meet everyone in the
Thanks a
chat.
lot. All
Thank
right. Take care. All right. Well, that's fun. So, so now we'll see. Let's see. Um, oh, thank you for the badges. You guys can buy badges, it's like 99 cents, I think 98 cents, but it's kind of sweet. It's like a little tip, and it helps Karen and I buy wine for our Wild Women with Wine show. So we put it to good use for you so that we can be as entertaining as possible on Thursday nights. So we will be here tomorrow night, Karen and I. So you got to come back on tomorrow night and check us out. So all right. So if anybody else would like to come in, John, if you would request again, I might be able to find you. I'm trying to find you in here and I'm not finding it. So let's see. Let me see. Don't see that one. Okay. All right. Anyway, so we're talking about the exotic lifestyle and all the things that make life exotic. And I really want this show to showcase the vast array of ways in which we can live an exotic lifestyle, at least some of the time. And as we talk about playing with the senses, you know, you think about our skin is the biggest organ in the body. And so it is really how we feel life, how we feel our way. And there's also this thing that's called our spatial orientation sense. Oh, aren't you sweet? And this is this one is kind of fascinating. It's like a labyrinth, they say a labyrinthia sense, which is kind of our balance. It helps us stay upright and know where we are in space and how our motion's working. And so when that sense is off, we tend to fall over more. And it also, I think, is one of the important senses is for understanding our spatial distance that we need to have from people and who we're comfortable letting into that space. So I want you to all think about over this next week, when you're in the company of others, what is your spatial comfort zone with strangers, with people you are somewhat friendly with, or coworkers, or people that you really love and are intimate with? What's the difference for you? And how does it affect you and your senses when someone steps into your space without your invitation? So we kind of can play with how far that is. The average is about 18 inches in America. In European countries and some other countries, it can be much closer. So be aware that different cultures have taught and supported a much different spatial range. And that's that spatial orientation sense that we are aware of then when somebody is too close or not close enough. One of the other so again, I'm inviting everybody to join me if you want to come in and just answer the question, what do you think is a sensualist? Have you ever heard of that before? And of all the senses, what's your favorite, and maybe why you think that is? I don't know that we always know why we like what we like. We don't really need to explain it, but I'm just curious as to if you have a favorite sense. I know my husband's is hearing. The sound for him is like his most important sense. So so it's interesting when people know what the sense is that they know they would really miss the most if they didn't have it, or the one they rely on the most for their enjoyment. Because the senses are all about, one is to discerning things that feel good and that don't feel good to us. But we're always seeking pleasure. We're always seeking something that's lovely for us or that feels good to us. And that could be very different person to person, but that is what the human seeks. So if we're a sensualist, it's not against the law. There's no rule that says we shouldn't be a sensualist. When I posted a picture earlier this week on Instagram that I was in a big fluffy jacket that I bought, and it was cold in the house, and we have a leather couch, and so I put this like animal print blanket over the couch in the winter because it's too cold to sit on. So I'm all bundled up on the couch with my big fluffy soft, it's that just that stuff you'll love to feel in the blanket behind me. And I did a little selfie because it was like total fresh face, there's no makeup happening there. But it was just that moment of so cozy and warm and having all these wonderful, yummy sensations on my skin. So I thought, I really want to do a show because that just felt so exotic to me, to be in that moment and really sink into the sensation of the soft clothing. My kids all tell me that they know that if I'm buying them something, it's going to feel good because I shop by sense, by feel. So I would say that's probably my most favorite sense. But I do like them all. I do like to play with them all. So what kind of things do you enjoy the most with your vision? Are you appreciative of your vision? I had an experience several years ago where I lost a hole in my, I think it was my left eye, for a period of time. I had a blister on my retina. It just spontaneously popped up. And I noticed it one night when I was teaching yoga, and because I was facing this window that had some light coming through it, and I was kind of rubbing my eye, and I noticed that there was a hole in the window. And so after the class came out of the Shavasana and we're talking, I was kind of doing like this back and forth, trying to see if it was my eye or the window or what was going on. And this poor guy in the back of the room thought I was winking at him. So he started winking back at me. And I'm like, oh no, I think I'm losing vision in my eye. And so I had to quickly explain why I'm sitting there winking to this class, which is not appropriate for a yoga teacher to be winking at her students. So anyway, I ended up going to an eye doctor, which was a horrible experience. But I had a panic moment because there was no fix for it. They don't know why it happens. The recommendation was meditation and yoga, which I was doing plenty of. And so I just kind of had to wait it out. And I thought, oh my God, it was so bad that I thought if it happened in my other eye spontaneously, I literally would have been legally blind. I would not have been able to ever see anything out of the macula, which is the center of vision. And so because it resolved, and I am so extra grateful for my sight and to be able to see sunsets and sunrises and trees and nature and beautiful people and all the art and all the things that we enjoy visually, all the faces of my little grandkids. I was so upset that I wouldn't be able to see them performing on a stage or doing what they do. So I think, when we have those things happen with our senses, it shifts us into a deeper sense of appreciation. And I'm hoping that by doing these shows on the exotic lifestyle, that I will be able to awaken everybody without having to go through those experiences where we lose one of our senses, so that we all can just develop a deeper appreciation for all the senses we do have. And so you've had macular degeneration, but luckily that's amazing. They do have better medicines now, so that's wonderful. But macular degeneration can be that's the same thing, because the hole was right in my macula. So I know what that looks like from the inside out. Not fun. I'm glad yours went away. So that's the vision sense. And then hearing, hearing someone laugh, hearing music, hearing the wind through trees, just really appreciating the sounds. I've always not prided myself, but been aware that I have an ability to recognize voices very quickly. And I had a diabetes practice for 13 years, one of my lives that I've had. And patients would call me, and I had probably 2,000 patients that I took care of with diabetes for those 13 years. And so patients would call me because they all had my number, and because I did a lot of keeping people out of the hospital care. And so they would call me and they would just say hello, and I would recognize their name, who they were. And people would just get blown away. How did you know? Well, I know your voice, because everybody's voice is so different. And so, just the way we pronounce words, our intonations, everybody is so unique that you can pick them out. So when I hear voiceovers, I can always pick out who's doing the voiceovers. So does anybody else have that ability where they recognize voices easily and they're tuned into that? So Glowing Beach Face says it's amazing how in tuned blind people's other senses heighten. Yeah, yes. Well, and you can actually play with that process yourself. One of the most sensual things that one of the many that I've experienced was to be blindfolded and then have noise canceling headphones put on and then be given a massage. That was pretty amazing. Yeah. So, oh yes, recognizing actors simply from their voice from one movie to the next. Yeah. It's kind of fun to just to be able to know. It's like you get these little visions pop up. Oh, I know whose voice that is. And that's a cool trick, I guess we have. Huh? So let's see. So so what else in hearing? So it's a game, yeah. There's in intimacy, sound with breath, and in sensuality and tantra and all of these arenas that I've worked in that bring kind of sex and spirituality together. The breath and the sound of breath can be quite invigorating and stimulating to both people. And so oftentimes when people are shy with their voice, that's throat chakra stuff, but if they're shy with their voice and they don't express in their intimacy, they don't emote or they don't breathe with sounds that are that clue in your partner whether what they're doing is working or not, I think both people miss out. So if you're uncomfortable emoting via your sound, just try breathing with a little bit of, we call it an ujjayi breath, which is a little bit like Darth Vader, where you can just kind of hear in the back of your throat if you just kind of make a little bit of a sound even with your mouth closed, but that vibration will travel through you and it'll enhance your experience, and it lets your partner know that what they're doing is you're enjoying it, because that's really critical. We can't read each other's minds, and when you're even when you're giving a hug to somebody, if it feels good, you can just sigh and let them know that you've relaxed into that space of comfort with them. And that's just a wonderful way to tell your person that you're in that moment with that this is a thank you. This is a great experience. I feel safe and loved. When people hold their breath, usually that's because they're tense or they're afraid. It's a natural thing we do. And so the opposite of that is to relax into whatever you're experiencing, and that can be with a big sigh. So one of the things we used to teach when I was teaching yoga is to have people start off the practice with a deep breath in and then a big and just do that several times, and it's almost like you can feel the tension leaving your shoulders. So everybody try it now while you're at home. Nobody's watching. If they are, they'll want what you're having. And just try to just let that breath go in a sound, in an exhale. And let me know in the comments how that felt to you. All right, so we've talked a little bit about spatial awareness. We've talked about sound and sight. How about taste? You know, in my family, we have quite a few people that are foodies. And I'm not sure if it's the taste that they enjoy the most. My son-in-law, I think food is his love language. And so when he feeds us or he feeds his family, he really is, that's how he loves. And he's, you know, he loves to cook. He makes really special foods, and he loves watching people enjoy the food that he's made. And it's really just this very genuine love language. And so, you know, if you're in that arena where food is really important to you, not just because you're getting nutrition, but because of cultural beliefs or family history practices, or you just like food, you just like the taste of different foods, and you like the textures, and you're into all the sensory, and you're using that sense of smell and taste at the same time. That's a big one. I think people who are foodies probably have an enhanced sense of taste smell, that combo, because they just, you know, they just live for that and to have those experiences. So is that some, you know, do you find food exotic? Are there certain foods that you find more exotic than others? We've done some tantra feeding rituals and had foods made that were designed to kind of enhance your eroticism. And some of the foods are kind of fascinating, like kiwis are known to stimulate testosterone. This is supposed, right? I'm not telling you I've looked at the science, because I haven't. So just know, don't, if you want to fact check it, great, but I'm not here saying it's a fact. So there's thought that kiwis are an eroticizing food, because, and if you look at them, they look like testicles. So, you know, papayas look a lot like a vulva. So there's certain foods that people find more erotic than others. And so I think that's kind of interesting when you start to look at the source of food and pleasure. And certain tastes definitely are more pleasurable if it's juicy. You know, just all the senses kind of coming together. So we've talked about sight and hearing and our sense of touch, our vestibular system of spatial awareness, and smell. So what, you know, smell is another one that we were talking earlier with one of our guests, where it is connected to the olfactory sense, and it's connected to the deepest part of our brainstem and memory. So remembering things that happened when we were tiny children, it can bring us back to, you know, if we smell like a campfire, it can bring us back to immediately to an experience we had as a kid. Those experiences can be lovely, and those experiences can also recall trauma. So I think we need to be aware that when people have an aversion to certain smells, that we need to really be respectful of that and honor that. Some people are hypersensitive, and whether it's an allergy or a preference, there may be something deeper there that they just can't deal with that smell because of the connection to past life or to past traumas. So we just want to be mindful that sense is one of the deeper, more primal senses when we're playing with sensory play in our exotic lifestyles. So does anybody have anything else they want to add? I would like to invite more people in. I'm seeing that everybody's just a little bit shy tonight. And, you know, I'm going to be back next week to talk to, I'm going to be interviewing Cameo, Kyle, and Juju, who are an incredibly exotic couple. And they've taken over my exotic lifestyle retreat and renamed it Dream Week. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But Cameo has been an exotic entertainment manager for many, many years. And so he's going to bring to us a different spin on the exotic lifestyle and who's seeking it and how that's what kind of changes he has seen over the 20 or 25 years he's been doing that. So that should be an interesting evening. And as you leave tonight, I just would like to leave you with this, is that your senses are there for you to enjoy, to play with, to explore. And if you even if you don't have a partner, you can do a lot of sensory play. You can play with hot and cold. Those are great ways for us to retrain our body to recognize that we can have many sensations happening at the same time, especially for people who have chronic pain. This can be a blessing, because if you have chronic pain and you're constantly focusing just on the part of the body, thank you for the badge, just part of the body that's hurting, you may not be aware that there's other parts of the body that feel lovely, that feel soft, that feel open, that feel relaxed, that feel cool or warm, or so you start to play with that. So you can take a cup and fill it with hot water, and then you can take an ice cube and you can just sit and hold an ice cube or a really cold glass in one hand and hold the warm mug with hot water in the other hand. And just notice, let your mind go back and forth, noticing the hot and then the cold and then the hot and then the cold. And then see if you can notice them both at the same time. This is part of many meditations that I taught when I was teaching yoga. And it's a really powerful tool to learn how to control your breath, your relaxation when something's uncomfortable versus terrifyingly painful. Because oftentimes it can start off as discomfort, and then our fear rises up and we become resistant to it, and then that magnifies it because we're only focusing on that. Give this a try this week. Play with the senses. Play with the sound. Are you able to recognize people's voices? You know, how long does it take when somebody calls you haven't talked to in a long time to key into, I recognize that voice. So see what happens with your senses. And then let me know. You can send me messages during the week. That's fine. And just let me know if you think you're a sensualist. And if so, how does that impact your life? And does that add to you having an exotic lifestyle on any level? Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and your participation. I appreciate you all. I see the sexy lifestyle is here. Terrific Toby is here. Oh my goodness. Oh, my friends. Thank you guys for coming in. And I will be back next week with some other exotic information. And if you have something that you would like to address in the exotic lifestyle, what that means to you when you seek something exotic, what are you looking for? What would you be hoping for? If I said, I'm doing an exotic lifestyle event, what would you be envisioning or hope would happen? And so I'm just curious to see what those little thought bubbles are up over your heads when I say the word exotic. Have a great night. Be safe, be kind, and remember the most important thing you can do with people around you is just be kind. You don't have to be nice, but you do need to be kind. And we can talk about the difference later. Have a great night.